First contact and misconceptions. The vast expanse of space had long been thought empty by the Zarkonian Empire. For millennia, they had explored the cosmos, cataloging countless barren rocks and gaseous giants. Never had they encountered another sentient species that could rival their own. That is, until the day their long-range sensors picked up an anomaly in a backwater arm of the Milky Way galaxy. High Admiral Tylos peered at the holographic display, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession. The small blue planet shouldn't have been remarkable, yet the readings were unlike anything he'd seen before. "Impossible," he muttered, his tentacles twitching with agitation. "Run the scan again." His subordinate, a young officer named Vex, complied immediately. The results were the same. "Sir," Vex said, her voice tinged with excitement and fear, "the readings are consistent. This planet, it's teeming with life. And not just simple organisms. We're detecting signs of civilization. Technology. It's a death world, sir." Tylos felt a shudder run through his gelatinous body. Death worlds were the stuff of legend, planets so inhospitable that evolution produced only the hardiest, most aggressive life forms. The Zarkonians had never encountered one outside of theoretical discussions. "Show me," Tylos commanded. The holographic display zoomed in, revealing sprawling cities, vast networks of transportation, and clear signs of industry. But what caught Tylos' attention were the beings moving about on the surface. "They're so fragile," he mused, watching the bipedal creatures scurry about their daily lives. How can they survive in such a hostile environment without exoskeletons or protective shells? Vex manipulated the controls, bringing up more detailed scans. "Sir, you're not going to believe this. These beings, they call themselves humans. They have internal skeletons, and their bodies are mostly water." Tylos recoiled in shock. Water? But how do they maintain structural integrity? How do they not simply collapse under their own weight? As they continued to observe, more peculiarities came to light. The humans moved with a speed and agility that defied the Zarkonians' understanding of physics. They lifted objects many times their body weight, endured extreme temperature variations, and seemed to thrive in conditions that would kill most species. "Look at this," Vex said, her voice filled with wonder. "They intentionally expose themselves to solar radiation for pleasure. And here, they willingly submerge themselves in dihydrogen monoxide." Tylos felt a mixture of fascination and horror. These creatures, they're either incredibly resilient or utterly insane, perhaps both. As the days turned into weeks, the Zarkonian observation post buzzed with activity. Scientists from every field pored over the data, trying to make sense of the humans and their world. Military strategists debated the potential threat these beings pose, while diplomats argued over the best approach for first contact. Tylos found himself at the center of it all, tasked with making the ultimate decision on how to proceed. The Empire had protocols for first contact situations, but none of them accounted for a species like this. "They have no unified global government," one of his advisors reported. "Instead, they're divided into numerous countries and cultures, each with its own customs and beliefs. It's chaos." Another chimed in. "Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but it's advancing at an alarming rate. In just the last century, they'd gone from rudimentary combustion engines to rudimentary space exploration." Tylos absorbed the information, his mind racing. The humans were an enigma, a paradox of frailty and strength. They seemed simultaneously vulnerable and indestructible. After much deliberation, Tylos made his decision. "We will send a diplomatic mission," he announced to his assembled staff. "We must learn more about these humans before we decide whether they are a threat or a potential ally." The preparation for the mission was meticulous. Every aspect of human physiology and culture was studied, insofar as the Zarkonians could understand it. Special environmental suits were designed to protect the delegation from Earth's harsh conditions, its crushing gravity, its corrosive atmosphere, its extreme temperature fluctuations. As the diplomatic vessel prepared to depart, Dylos couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Something about the humans didn't add up. How could beings so physically unimpressive have conquered such a lethal world? Be cautious, he warned the delegation leader, a seasoned diplomat named Zora. These humans are an unknown quantity. They may be more dangerous than they appear. Zara nodded, her chromatophores flashing in acknowledgement. We will proceed with utmost care, High Admiral. The glory of the Empire depends on our success. As Silos watched the ship depart, he couldn't help but feel that the Zarkonian Empire stood on the brink of a new era. Whether it would be an era of enlightenment or conflict remained to be seen. Little did Xylos know that his cautionary words would prove to be a drastic understatement. The humans were indeed far more than they appeared, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The diplomatic disaster. The Zarkonian diplomatic vessel, the celestial envoy, descended through Earth's atmosphere with all the grace of a falling star. On board, Ambassador Zara and her team made final preparations, their tentacles twitching with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Remember, Zara addressed her team, her voice synthesizer modulating to convey calm authority. We must approach these humans with caution. Their planet is a death trap, and they are its masters. We cannot underestimate them. The ship touched down in a designated area outside Washington, D.C., chosen as the site for first contact due to its political significance. As the dust settled, a delegation of human officials approached, their faces a mix of awe and wariness. Zara led her team out of the ship, their environmental suits whirring and clicking as they adjusted to Earth's hostile conditions. The ambassador's 4 eyes blinked rapidly, taking in the sight of the humans up close for the first time. They were even more bewildering in person. Their soft, exposed skin seemed absurdly vulnerable, yet they moved with a fluid grace that belied their fragile appearance. Zara noted with fascination how their faces contorted into various expressions, a form of communication the Zarkonians had never developed. Greetings, people of Earth. Zara's voice synthesizer boomed, translating her vibrations into English. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations between our great civilizations. The human at the forefront, a woman with graying hair and a stern expression, stepped forward. On behalf of the United Nations, I welcome you to Earth. I am Secretary General Maria Chen. We look forward to peaceful dialogue and cultural exchange. As the formal introductions proceeded, Zora couldn't shake a sense of unease. The humans seemed so calm. How could they be so nonchalant about meeting an advanced alien species? Where was the fear, the reverence? The diplomatic talks began in earnest, held in a hastily prepared conference center. As discussions progressed, cultural misunderstandings began to pile up like a house of cards ready to topple. The Zarkonians, used to rigid hierarchies and clear protocols, found themselves baffled by the humans' informal approach to diplomacy. Jokes and idioms were lost in translation, leading to awkward silences and confused stares. During a break in the talks, one of Zara's aides approached her, chromatophores flashing in distress. Ambassador, I don't understand. These humans, they keep asking about our families. I tried to explain our reproductive cycle, but they seemed uncomfortable. Zara sighed, a sound like air escaping a balloon. It seems their concept of social units differs greatly from ours. Make a note for further cultural study. As the days wore on, tensions began to rise. The humans, for their part, were growing frustrated with what they perceived as the Zarkonians' condescension and overcautiousness. Why do they keep treating us like we're made of glass? One human diplomat was overheard whispering to another. And what's with those ridiculous suits? It's not like our air is toxic. The breaking point came during a formal dinner, intended to showcase human cuisine and hospitality. The Zarkonian delegation, unable to consume solid food, watched in horror as the humans tore into various cooked animal flesh with their sharp teeth. By the cosmic void, muttered one Zarkonian scientist, They're apex predators. The humans, noticing the aliens' discomfort, tried to lighten the mood. A young diplomat raised his glass, filled with a dark red liquid. A toast, he declared, to new friendships and understanding between our species. The Zarkonians recoiled in shock, their translator struggling to find an equivalent for toast that didn't involve burning bread. As the humans clinked their glasses together, the sound resonating at just the right frequency to interfere with the Zarkonians' sensory organs, chaos erupted. Zara, her system overwhelmed by the sensory assault, accidentally engaged her suit's defense mechanisms. A burst of high-frequency sound waves emanated from her suit, shattering glass and sending humans clutching their ears in pain. Panic ensued. Security forces, both human and Zarkonian, rushed to protect their respective leaders. In the confusion, a human guard, mistaking a Zarkonian's reflexive color change for an attack, fired his weapon. The energy pulse from the human weapon, primitive by Zarkonian standards, shouldn't have been a threat. But to everyone's surprise, it pierced the alien's environmental suit with ease. The injured Zarkonian collapsed, emitting a high-pitched keen of pain that sent the entire delegation into a frenzy. Within minutes, the carefully orchestrated diplomatic mission had devolved into chaos. Human security forces surrounded the conference center, while the Zarkonians retreated to their ship, dragging their injured comrade. As the celestial envoy lifted off, leaving a bewildered and angry group of humans behind, Zara knew that her mission had failed spectacularly. She had underestimated the humans at every turn, their strength, their aggression, and most of all, their unpredictability. Send an urgent message to High Admiral Silos, she commanded, her chromatophores flashing in patterns of distress and mourning. The humans are far more dangerous than we anticipated. They are not merely the survivors of a death world. They are its conquerors. And now they know we exist. As the ship accelerated out of Earth's atmosphere, Zara gazed down at the blue planet, a world that had seemed so fragile from afar, yet had proved to be anything but. She knew that the galaxy stood on the brink of change, and the Zarkonian Empire was woefully unprepared for what was to come. Little did she know that back on Earth, human governments were already mobilizing, preparing for a threat they had long anticipated, but never truly expected. The age of humanity's isolation was over, and the stars themselves would tremble at what was to follow. The unexpected war. High Admiral Tylos stood motionless, his four eyes fixed on the holographic display before him. The report from Ambassador Zara played on repeat, each viewing sending fresh waves of disbelief and horror through his gelatinous form. "This cannot be," he muttered, his tentacles writhing in agitation. How could a diplomatic mission go so catastrophically wrong? But the evidence was undeniable. The humans, those soft, squishy creatures they had so grossly underestimated, had not only survived an encounter with advanced Zarkonian technology, they had effectively repelled it. As the Zarkonian High Command debated their next move, humanity was far from idle. The failed diplomatic mission had confirmed what many on Earth had long suspected. They were not alone in the universe, and their first cosmic neighbors were far from friendly. Across the globe, nations set aside their differences in the face of a common threat. Military installations hummed with activity as scientists and engineers worked around the clock to analyze the scant data gleaned from the alien encounter. In a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenobiologist, made a breakthrough that would change the course of the coming conflict. "It's their environmental suits," she explained to a room full of military brass and government officials. "They're not just for show. The Zarkonians genuinely can't survive in our environment without them." General Zhang, a grizzled veteran of countless earthbound conflicts, leaned forward. "Are you saying we have a home field advantage, Doctor?" Elena nodded, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "More than that, General. I believe we can use their own adaptations against them." As humanity prepared its defenses, The Zarkonian Empire made its fateful decision. They could not allow a potentially hostile species with such terrifying potential to roam free in the galaxy. For the good of all, Earth must be subjugated. The Zarkonian battle fleet arrived in Earth's orbit with all the subtlety of a supernova. Massive ships, each the size of a small moon, cast shadows over the world's major cities. Their message was clear: surrender or be annihilated. But humanity had no intention of going quietly into the night. As the first wave of Zarkonian troops descended upon Earth, they expected an easy victory. Their energy weapons and advanced battle suits should have made short work of the primitive humans. They were wrong. In the streets of New York, a squad of Zarkonian soldiers advanced cautiously, their sensor arrays scanning for threats. Suddenly, a barrage of seemingly primitive projectiles peppered their position. The aliens watched in shock as their advanced shields, designed to repel energy weapons, proved useless against simple kinetic force. Before they could regroup, shadows detached themselves from the surrounding buildings. Humans, moving with a speed and agility that defied the aliens' understanding of physics, closed in. The Zarkonians found themselves engaged in close-quarter combat, a form of warfare they were ill-equipped to handle. One human, a former street fighter named Miguel, ducked under a Zarkonian's clumsy swing and delivered a devastating uppercut. The alien's environmental suit, designed to withstand the vacuum of space, crumpled under the force of the blow. As the Zarkonian writhed on the ground, gasping in Earth's toxic, to them, atmosphere, Miguel couldn't help but quip, "Welcome to Earth, Pendeo." Similar scenes played out across the globe. In the rice paddies of Vietnam, farmers turned guerrillas lured Zarkonian patrols into quicksand traps. In the Australian outback, Aboriginal trackers led special forces teams in ambushes that left the aliens reeling. The Zarkonians, used to fighting wars with advanced technology, and from the safety of their ships, found themselves woefully unprepared for the sheer tenacity and adaptability of human resistance. High Admiral Tylos watched in growing horror as reports flooded in from all corners of the Earth. His invincible armada was being bloodied by creatures that, by all rights, should have been cowering in fear. How? He demanded of his tactical officer. How are they doing this? The officer's chromatophores flashed patterns of confusion and fear. Sir, it's not just their physical capabilities, which are far beyond what we estimated. It's their tactics. They're using our own technology against us. Indeed, humans had quickly learned to exploit the weaknesses in Zarkonian tech. EMP weapons, hastily developed based on observations from the first encounters, proved devastatingly effective against the aliens' sensitive equipment. Sonic weapons, inspired by the disastrous diplomatic dinner, turned the Zarkonians' acute senses against them. But perhaps most shocking to the invaders was humanity's sheer determination. Where the Zarkonians expected surrender in the face of overwhelming odds, they instead found an almost suicidal bravery. In orbit, a Zarkonian battlecruiser found itself under attack by what seemed to be a swarm of primitive chemical rockets. As the ship's commander ordered evasive maneuvers, sneering at the humans' pathetic attempt, proximity alarms blared. The rockets weren't missiles, they were transports. Before the Zarkonians could react, their hull was breached in a dozen places. Human soldiers in hastily adapted spacesuits poured in, armed with simple kinetic weapons and an indomitable will. The aliens, so confident in their technological superiority, found themselves fighting a desperate battle in their own corridors. As the conflict stretched from days into weeks, it became clear that this would not be the quick subjugation the Zarkonian Empire had envisioned. Humanity, that upstart species from a backwater death world, was not only holding its own, it was winning. High Admiral Tylos, watching another Zarkonian ship fall to what the humans callously termed board and scuttle tactics, felt a chill run through his gelatinous form. They had gravely underestimated these humans, not once, but twice, first as diplomats, and now as warriors. As he prepared to deliver the unthinkable order to retreat and regroup, Tylos couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy as he knew it would never be the same. The age of Zarkonian dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. And somewhere on the battlefield that Earth had become, a human soldier picked up a fallen Zarkonian weapon, grinned at its alien design, and thought to herself, "I wonder how this thing works." The next phase of the war was about to begin, and the Zarkonians had no idea what was coming. The turning point. The war had raged for months, turning Earth into a battlefield unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. Cities lay in ruins, their shattered skylines a testament to the ferocity of the conflict. But from the ashes of destruction, humanity's indomitable spirit rose, stronger and more determined than ever. In a hidden bunker beneath the scorched earth of what was once Silicon Valley, Dr. Aisha Patil hunched over a workbench, her eyes bleary from lack of sleep. Before her lay the dismantled components of a Zarkonian energy rifle, its alien circuitry, a maze of unfamiliar patterns and materials. "Come on, you beautiful monstrosity," she muttered, probing a crystalline structure with a modified multimeter. "Give up your secrets." A spark jumped between the crystal and her probe, and suddenly holographic schematics blazed to life above the workbench. Aisha's exhausted face split into a wide grin. Eureka! Across the room, General Zhang looked up from his tactical displays. "Please tell me that's good news, Doctor. We could use some." Aisha's eyes gleamed with excitement. "Better than good, General. I've cracked their energy modulation algorithms. Give me a week, and I can have our boys and girls shooting lightning bolts just like our squid-faced friends up there." The news spread like wildfire through the resistance networks. Humanity had been holding its own with grit, ingenuity, and reverse-engineered kinetic weapons. But now, they were about to level the playing field. In orbit, High Admiral Tylos received the latest casualty reports with a mixture of disbelief and dread. The humans were adapting at an alarming rate, turning captured Zarkonian technology against its creators with a speed that defied comprehension. "Impossible," he muttered, his tentacles writhing in agitation. "No species can integrate unfamiliar tech so quickly. It took us generations to develop these weapons." His tactical officer, Vex, now bearing the scars of multiple Earth encounters, spoke up. "Sir, we've been analyzing their information networks. It seems the humans have a concept they call open source. They're sharing everything they learn. Globally. In real time." Tylos recoiled in shock. The idea of freely sharing military advancements was anathema to Zarkonian culture. But the chaos. The inefficiency. Vex's chromatophores flashed in patterns of grudging admiration. "On the contrary, sir, it's making them incredibly efficient. They're innovating faster than we can counter." As if to punctuate Vex's point, alarms blared across the bridge. On the view screen, a Zarkonian dreadnought erupted in a spectacular explosion, its reactor core breached by weapons that, mere weeks ago, the humans shouldn't have been able to comprehend, let alone replicate and improve. Back on Earth, the tide of battle was shifting. In the ruins of Moscow, a squad of human soldiers, armed with reverse-engineered energy rifles and patchwork power armor, faced off against a Zarkonian heavy assault unit. Sergeant Dmitry Volkov raised his weapon, a hodgepodge of alien tech and human ingenuity. "Remember, comrades," he growled to his team, "aim for the environmental seals. Let Mother Russia's air give them a kiss." The battle was swift and decisive. Energy bolts, modified to penetrate Zarkonian shields, found their marks with unerring accuracy. The alien soldiers, so fearsome just months ago, fell one by one, their final moments spent gasping in an atmosphere never meant for their physiology. As the dust settled, Dmitry keyed his comm unit. "Control, this is Wolverine Actual. Sector clear. Ready for the next push." Similar reports flooded in from all corners of the globe. Humanity, united as never before, was pushing back. The Zarkonian invasion force, once seemingly invincible, found itself on the defensive. But the true turning point came not on Earth, but high above it. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the xenobiologist who had first unlocked the secrets of Zarkonian biology, stood on the bridge of the HSS Defiance, Earth's first true starship. Cobbled together from captured alien tech and human innovation, it represented the pinnacle of humanity's wartime advancement. "All systems are go," reported Captain Amir Khan, his voice steady despite the historic moment. "Dr. Rodriguez, would you do the honors?" Elena nodded, her heart pounding. She pressed a sequence on the alien-human hybrid console before her, initiating fold space drive in 3, 2, 1. The stars outside the view screen blurred, and with a flash of light that seemed to bend reality itself, the Defiance vanished from Earth orbit. Moments later, alarms blared across the Zarkonian fleet. High Admiral Tylos stared in disbelief as the impossible happened. A human ship, bristling with weapons that should have been far beyond their comprehension, materialized in the heart of his fleet. "This is Dr. Elena Rodriguez of Earth." A transmission crackled across all Zarkonian frequencies. "We've cracked your fold space tech, and we're just getting started. Surrender now, or face the full fury of a species you should never have underestimated." To emphasize her point, the Defiance unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, each shot finding its mark with devastating precision. Zarkonian ships, their defenses useless against weapons of their own design, began to explode in silent bursts of fire and debris. Xylos, watching his mighty armada crumble before a single human ship, felt something he had never experienced before. Fear, not just for himself or for his fleet, but for the entire Zarkonian Empire. As he gave the unthinkable order to retreat, abandoning the invasion that was supposed to have been his crowning glory, Xylos finally understood the truth. The humans weren't just the survivors of a death world. They were its masters, forged in the crucible of a planet that should have killed them 1,000,000 times over. And now, they were taking that same indomitable spirit to the stars. As the remnants of the Zarkonian fleet fled, their fold space drives pushing them towards the safety of home, a cheer went up across every human communication channel. From the trenches of Earth to the bridge of the Defiance, humanity celebrated not just victory, but the dawn of a new era. The war wasn't over, not by a long shot. But in that moment, as human ships prepared to give chase to their retreating foes, one thing became crystal clear. The galaxy would never be the same again. A new galactic order. The Zarkonian capital world of Exarchon Prime was in chaos. For the first time in millennia, the streets were filled not with the usual orderly processions, but with panicked citizens, their chromatophores flashing patterns of fear and confusion. In the Imperial Palace, the Zarkonian High Council convened an emergency session. High Admiral Tylos, once the pride of the Empire, now stood before his peers, his tentacles drooping in shame. "It's impossible," muttered one council member, her voice synthesizer barely able to modulate the terror in her vibrations. "How could these primates from a backwater death world, defy our armada?" Xylos, his once vibrant colors now a dull, defeated gray, spoke softly. "We underestimated them. At every turn, we underestimated them. And now," he gestured to the holographic display showing the approach of the human fleet. "Now they're here." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the capital. In the skies above, reality itself seemed to tear open as human ships, led by the now infamous HSS Defiance, emerged from fold space. On the bridge of the Defiance, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood alongside Captain Amir Khan, her eyes wide with wonder as she gazed upon the alien world below. "It's beautiful," she murmured, taking in the swirling colors of Exarchon Prime's atmosphere. "Hard to believe this is the homeworld of a species that tried to conquer us." Captain Khan nodded grimly. "Let's hope they're more receptive to diplomacy this time. We didn't come all this way for more bloodshed." As the human fleet took up positions around the planet, a tense silence fell over both sides. The Zarkonians, their military might shattered, could only watch and wait. Then, to everyone's surprise, a single human shuttle detached from the Defiance, making its way towards the surface. In the Imperial Palace, the High Council watched in disbelief as the shuttle landed in the central plaza. The airlock cycled, and out stepped a single human figure, General Maria Chen, now the Supreme Commander of Earth's United Defense Forces, strode confidently towards the palace entrance. She wore no environmental suit, no visible weapons, only a crisp military uniform adorned with the new insignia of a united Earth. As she entered the council chamber, the Zarkonians recoiled, expecting their atmosphere to kill the human instantly. But Chen merely smiled, breathing easily in the alien air. "Surprised?" she asked, her words translated by a small device at her throat. "We've learned a lot about adapting to hostile environments. You could say we've had plenty of practice." High Admiral Tylo stepped forward, his posture a mixture of fear and awe. You've come to accept our surrender." Chen's expression hardened. "No, Admiral. We've come to offer you a choice." Over the next several hours, General Chen laid out humanity's terms. The Zarkonian Empire would cease all hostile actions, not just against Earth, but against any sentient species. In return, humanity would share its advancements, the very technologies born from the crucible of war that had allowed them to defeat a vastly superior foe. "But why?" asked one council member, bewildered. "Why not simply conquer us as we tried to do to you?" Chen's eyes softened slightly. "Because that's not who we are. Yes, we can fight. We can survive conditions that would kill most species. But our true strength, it's not our ability to wage war. It's our ability to adapt, to learn, to grow." She gestured to the window, where human and Zarkonian ships now floated side by side, in an uneasy peace. "We don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to explore it, to understand it, and maybe, just maybe, to make it a little bit better." In the days and weeks that followed, a new galactic order began to take shape. The Zarkonian Empire, humbled but not destroyed, began the long process of reforming its society. Humanity, armed with advanced technology and an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, took its first tentative steps into the wider galaxy. Research outposts sprang up on 1,000 worlds. Human adaptability, combined with Zarkonian technical knowledge, led to breakthroughs in fields ranging from medicine to astrophysics. The first human Zarkonian hybrid ships set out to explore the farthest reaches of the cosmos. But perhaps the most profound change was in how the galaxy's species viewed one another. The tale of humanity's rise from a deadly homeworld to defeat an advanced invasion force spread far and wide. Other races, long suppressed by Zarkonian dominance, began to find their own strength. On a distant space station, now a hub of interspecies cooperation, Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood next to her old friend, General Zhang. They watched as beings from a dozen different worlds mingled, exchanged ideas, and worked together towards common goals. "You know," Elena mused, "when I first started studying xenobiology, I never imagined anything like this." Zhang chuckled, the sound still strange coming from a man who had seen so much war. "Life's funny that way, isn't it? We go looking for enemies among the stars, and instead we find possibilities." As they spoke, the young Zarkonian approached, its tentacles waving in a gesture of respect. "Dr. Rodriguez, General Zhang, the new deep space exploration vessel is ready for its maiden voyage. Would you do us the honor of joining the christening ceremony?" Elena and Zhang exchanged a glance, then nodded. As they followed the Zarkonian, Elena couldn't help but smile. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers beyond imagination, but humanity had proven itself ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. After all, they were the species that had not just survived, but thrived on a world that should have killed them. They were the Deathworlders, the adapters, the innovators. And now, they were the explorers, the peacekeepers, the bridge between worlds. As the sleek new ship, a marvel of human and Zirconian engineering, prepared to launch into the unknown, Alina felt a thrill of excitement. The war was over. The real adventure, the exploration of the cosmos, and the forging of a new galactic community was just beginning. And humanity, once dismissed as fragile creatures from a backwater death world, would be leading the way.